Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison, and this is the kitty of the day, Phoebe. Look how big her tummy is. She's a preggers lady. She's gonna have some babies here soon. We'll have some nice new kitties. Eventually, those ones will get in the rotation of the kitty of the day. Just like Beverly did recently. But as you guys can see, I'm back in my normal spot, back in our normal studio, back ready to dump with you all. Now, if you guys like seeing the morning dump Monday through Friday, that's the goal, 11 a.m. Eastern, that's the goal as well. We don't always hit it. Then be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you just want to see, and also if you want to just see the kitties of the day and you want to make sure you get that notification, hit that bell. We'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast, the morning dump. Sorry, I'm a little tired today, guys. See if you guys can't tell with my energy, rough day yesterday. That's why I'm a little bit late today. But expect weird hours during these these next couple weeks during these holidays. Just schedules all over the place. But I'll try to squeeze in dumps where I can. But we have plenty to go through today. We got Goy Gladio down under. We got some craziness going on in Australia over the week. Man, we had a ton go on over the weekend. It was a bad day for me to pick up a Monday shift as I do sometimes. Busy weekend. And we'll be covering all of that. We have the Bondi Beach shooting that we'll be going into. We also got Global Goy Gladio. We kind of focusing in a little bit on that one about the thing that happened in Syria where some of our troops got attacked. And then also kind of tying that into what even the hell is ISIS, talking a little bit about that. We'll be talking domestic Goy Gladio, which will be the Brown shooting, and then also tying a little bit of the Kirk stuff into it. So we have plenty to go through. I hope you guys are having a good morning, having a productive morning. I had a semi-productive morning. I got a little bit of taping done for paint, but tired. I pulled a double yesterday, and then as soon as I got home, I had a kitty emergency. You guys know I'm a kitty breeder, so I had to. There was a little old lady that was a previous client of ours that was having a medical issue. I'm not going to go into specifics because that'd be weird. But anyways, I had to drive 2.5 hours just to help a little, probably 80-year-old lady to. That way we could take the kitty and that we can bring her and get him treated at my wife's work and bring him back to her. But yeah, I mean, that's what you get. Hey, I guess it's a little promo for my business. I guess if you ever do get a cat from us, especially if you live in Florida. Obviously, if you live another state away, do not expect that sort of quick care. But also it's because it's a little old lady, so we're being nice. But we have plenty to go through today also. I also forgot to mention the normal format here. We start out with some icebreaker type stuff, some gen pop, funny type stuff. Usually. Then we kind of roll into the foreign policy. We whiplash from fun to serious. And then we get into those main topics we just listed, and intermittently we pop into the chat, say our good mornings, and all of that. By the way, if you do hear a little bit of an odd sound in the background, I got an air fryer, and I'm currently making beef jerky, and I'm super hyped about it. So it's actually going to probably go off during the show. So I'm going to show off my air fryer production to you guys. But guys, let's go ahead and get to the Gen Pop type stuff as first. The icebreaker clip/stories. Am I coming off weird audio-wise? It's weird for me. Maybe I'm just not used to being in this room. It's like echoey. I feel like it's more echoey than normal. But I don't know. Let me know how I sound. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being weird. But let's go ahead and get into some of the introductory stuff for today. First off, I just thought this was a fun little video to kind of start off with. People have always made fun of James O'Keefe and his undercover work for a while, and people also made fun of Clark Kent and the whole Superman dynamic and just the glasses. Well, look what happened here. For the audio people, it's James O'Keefe in glasses doing some undercover work. Go ahead and watch this. I think it's kind of funny. Watch this.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is that I actually am James O'Keefe.
Are you?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I'm not James O'Keefe.
Are you not?
I am.
Really?
Yes. And you don't know that.
Look at this motherfucker run. All right, now I have no idea if this is real or not, but it is hilarious, the idea that perhaps, maybe, obviously, I don't know. I never know what to believe with the James O'Keefe stuff. It seems a little bit too good to be true. Although, I don't know. I mean, I think people are that stupid. If you give them some pussy in their face, they'll say just about anything, and James O'Keefe exploited that. And they're so desperate for that pussy, they don't even care if it's James O'Keefe in glasses. They're like, well, I don't know, maybe he's a doppelganger, but boy, is he cute. This time, it didn't work. So be careful, boys. If you're out there searching for pussy, just be like, hey, if it seems too good to be true, like, hey, this looks like some handsome hunk that I know of that is an investigative journalist, and he happens to be wearing, and it just looks like him in glasses, don't just write it off as a doppelganger. You very well may be getting bamboozled. Moving on to the next, I think this is kind of a resurgence of The Onion. I feel like The Onion as of late has been kind of duds, but here's a new one. The Onion nailed it here, I think. I thought this was pretty great. Here you go from The Onion. Newly unsealed batch of Epstein estate photos contains rare holographic footage, or rare holographic Dershowitz. So here's a photo of I think this actually did come from the new drops. I guess that's a young Dersh, which, okay, kind of looked like a semi, okay, he looked a little cooler back then. I guess, it kind of looked like a cool 70s Jew back in the day. He definitely has fallen off quite a bit, but I don't know, just thought it was funny that The Onion nailed it, is back. They're back, baby. We're back to where The Onion can be funny again. I don't know why. Maybe something about the current zeitgeist allows The Onion to come back. I know what it is. It's because the left is allowed to be funny again. Because The Onion was always a little bit of like a lefty type thing, wasn't it? Maybe that's what it is. But it just seemed like reality got too bizarre for a while for The Onion stuff to even be funny. Because it was just like, oh, that is completely believable stuff a lot of times. All right, let's move into the next one. I did want to give you guys a little update on on what's going on. As you guys see behind me, we're actually done. This is from the weekend. This is on I think it was Monday they came in and they finished the rest. So you guys might be able to see behind me. You can see see that. But that's right now. You're also looking at the pictures I took. Here's you can see the counters. For those who are following along with that, the flooring is not going to be the final product. Someone gave me shit about the tile. No, that's it. You might even be able to see behind me. There's like concrete behind me. I've had to take up all this floor by myself. And at some point, we're going to chill out the money and get the whole flooring redone. Because I think I told you guys what happened a while ago. My whole kitchen got fucked up because there's a leak that was coming through under the multiple layers of flooring. And so it fucked. Essentially, I just got to get new flooring and basically the whole new house. So we're holding off on that expense. But that's why you see some concrete in some places and the flooring's not so great. But when it's nice, it's going to look pretty. When it's done, it's going to look pretty pimpin'. All right, guys, finishing off this, I think we're going to talk a little bit about, I don't know, here's this, how do I introduce this? This is a book from an ex-FBI sniper. Ken shared this. Essentially, this is some sort of a FBI guy tell-all after getting out. He was kind of his theory on how things worked there, and I don't know, this is particularly just funny in regards to how they view the FBI director, like the normal jobbers. We make fun of Kash Patel quite frequently on this show. But here's Ken. It says, I bought a book by an ex-FBI sniper, hoping to gain insights to the Kirk/Trump shootings, etc. It was disappointing. He mostly just recounts SWAT raids he was on. But there's a funny section about agents not being willing to die to protect the FBI director. I wonder if Kash knows. It says right here, I've been asked many times if I'd give my life to protect the FBI director or the attorney general. The answer is no. My teammates and I would make any would-be attacker pay a hefty price, though. While the full-time detail evacuated the dignitary, I usually chose to wear body armor or under my suit on DIG Pro, whatever the hell that means. But it was so I would have an advantage in a gunfight against an attacker, not because I planned on getting shot. Pragmatically speaking, it's easier to replace a presidentially appointed bureaucrat than an operator anyway. The FBI director usually has substantially less experience in the FBI than the average operator has in his own tradecraft, and the FBI could still run just fine until the president appointed the next person to fill the post. There hasn't been a director that had actually been a former special agent since Louis Freeh, and he retired shortly before the terror attacks of 9/11. All that to say, we did our level best to protect our dignitary. There just wasn't any romantic notion that we were hoping to catch a bullet for a bureaucrat. So it's just kind of funny. I feel like a lot of people, especially maybe even Cash, have this different idea of how people view this role, but it's nice to hear from the jobbers how they actually look at the director. All right, let's pop in the chat. Hopefully I'll wake up a little bit through the course of that. Sorry if I'm a little bit tired today. We have too much to cover for me to wait nary and other day. Maybe there'll be some wisdom that comes out of the delirium from the lack of sleep and doing a fuckload of shit. But yeah, let's go through the chat, say our good mornings. Hopefully we'll wake up, drink a little coffee as we go. And then we'll get into some foreign policy, although the foreign policy and today's topics just bleed right together. They're basically one and the same, which that totally makes sense. That's what they are. Good morning, Professor Parsi. Good morning, says Oy vey. Good morning, John Black. Good morning, Shannon Jones. Good morning, Tom33. Good morning, Kim is barely there. Loves the kitties. I love kitties too. Good morning, Melko. Good morning. Professor Parsi, what is Tower Gang? Oh, that is quite that is a deep philosophical question, Professor Parsi. What is Tower Gang? When is Tower Gang? Who is Tower Gang? Why is Tower Gang? These are all deep questions, things to think about. Chat, feel free to let them know. But yeah, this is I don't know. Really, you can kind of go back and forth. It really is a debate. What is Tower Gang? That is a good question. Good morning, John Black. Good morning. It says good afternoon, Dumpster and Already Dead Heads. Oh, yes, by the way. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to hopefully wake up a little bit for that. We have Dana Duda on tonight on Already Dead. So get your TPUSA, Candace, Kirk, whatever the fuck questions, or if you want to go back to the well of, what she actually usually does before the whole world became Processian. We can dig into process stuff, Manson, all the sort of stuff she likes to dig into. But call into the show tonight. I'll tell you the number right now. I guess if anyone cares, you can plug it in now. 1-833-722-DEAD. 1-833-722-3323. Call in tonight if you have any questions about any of that sort of stuff. Dana is the one who did all that digging and found out that what's his face, or not what's his face, but who knows? Maybe she does have a penis. Candace. That Candace's daddy was managing the contracts over at Sandy Hook. So I don't know. She's be an interesting conversation tonight. But hopefully you guys call in, and if you have any questions, do that. Good morning Tilla Spook. Good morning. Good morning, King David. Reminding you guys to hit that like button, please do. Morning, Fire Pixie. What is Tower Gang? Says John Black as well. Professor Parsi says, do you push pussy for a living? I sure do. I'm a pussy slinger. One of many things. Good morning. Tom33, been under a rock. What's up with these shootings? Yes, we will go to... Yeah, you really have to... if you're just a normal person out there that doesn't pay a ton of attention to the news, it is kind of just, mind-numbing how fast these things are coming at us. So we'll go through all that and try to process it. But it looks like there seems to be a pretty consistent theme here, a very consistent theme. Good morning, Johnny Shankslot. Let me know the audio sounds good. Good morning, Yelling a Big Cat. Good morning. Who else we got? Morning, Marty McFly. Good morning. Censored already. Am I censored? What? I bet you mean the chat, Alien Big Cat. You probably said. Yeah, they're really screwy in the chat. That's why you need to go over to Rumble. You can say whatever the hell you want. Here's Tilla Spook saying that's why the Onion's funny again. It's because Trump started being Trump. Let me know the kitchen looks good. Thank you. Good morning, Jug the Goat. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Wise Elk. Good morning, good morning. What is Goy Gladio, says Eugenie. Well, Gladio, it's Operation Gladio. That was during the Cold War, where they were essentially funding. It was when there was like a communist uprising and kind of that European. Was it? I forget. It was like around Italy and stuff. Sorry, I'm very hazy this morning, but. Gladio's Operation Gladio, it's kind of the vague idea of essentially like stay-behind units or like kind of sleeper cell type stuff where one country funds some other. It's like the dialectical false flag stuff, the idea of like, oh, we funded this terror group when in fact they're working for us and it's to provoke this reaction and then therefore yada, yada, yada. The Goy is just a fun little flavor added on it. That's the consistent theme. Pay attention, people. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Wilson Seltzer. Remind you guys to hit that like button. John Black says Tower Gang is the real life of filling a fleshlight with beans, fucking it, then selling the beans. It sure is. Good morning, Real John Doe. Good morning. Alien Big Cat says Gladio is still active. Yes. It sure is. Fuck seems that way. All right, guys, let's get into some foreign policy stuff. Should be on a little bit of a shorter end today because, there's so much other foreign policy stuff going on elsewhere. So, that's kind of what the news is today. What's going on out there is coming back home, as we've been saying for a long time. But, over in Venezuela, we still got concerns over there. Apparently an aircraft almost ran into a private or a military aircraft almost ran into a private jet or a commercial one is what I meant to say, over in Venezuela because they're flying around with their transponders off like an idiot. This was a JetBlue plane. It was about 40 miles off the coast of Venezuela. Let me see how close they got. They got maybe 2 or 3 miles away from each other, which in aircraft terms is like retardedly quick. This was, I believe, with a tanker is what I had heard. This was a refueling tanker, which funny enough, those are the jets that I worked on, were refueling tankers. It's a few different types though. There's KC-10s, KC-46s, and KC-135s. I worked on the 135, so I'm not entirely sure which one that is, but either way, having tankers flying around with transponders off is kind of weird because their only purpose is refueling. So yeah, if they're flying around there, they should probably stop doing that. This seems very, very dangerous. But hey, it's kind of fixing for some problems to happen. But I think that very well might be what they want. I think they're trying to aggravate Maduro into some sort of response. Further aggravating the issue, we have President Trump signing executive order declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. Which is despite the fact that, we've kind of covered it here, that the fentanyl is not really coming through Venezuela. So, that seems to be what they're kind of angling at. But then they're like, oh, well, the cocaine, and then cocaine you kind of almost just assume the other as if there's going to be. But no, the one doesn't necessarily follow. Yeah, it might get cut with fentanyl later on down the process. But when it's in that area, it's probably not going to be cut yet, honestly. So, but either way, I think it's just kind of, they're literally leaning super duper hard into the war on terror. Essentially now, we're fighting weapons of mass destruction, fentanyl. This is how they blur the language even further. But despite all this, we have the House getting ready to vote on a bill to block Trump from launching a war in Venezuela. So hopefully maybe something will come of that. They're expected to vote on Thursday on a bipartisan war powers resolution aimed at blocking Trump from launching an attack on Venezuela amid a major U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean. This is HCON Resolution 64, so if you want to contact your representative, if you're one of those people who believes in that, I'm always torn. If you're going to do it for something, this would probably be one of the ones to do it for. This would be one of the rare reasons. I'm not one to really, encourage anyone to get, in any way interact with their government, generally speaking, because I think to some extent that kind of gives them the credence of a feeling like they're important, and it kind of sucks you into this illusion of I'm doing something and it making a difference. But this is one of the times where perhaps you actually could. You do hear sometimes these sort of things that are like they get bullied enough that it actually can make a difference. But I don't know. I'm torn on this, but either way, if you were one to do that, this would be the time. This is when it could make a difference. This was introduced by Representative Jim McGovern. Has 31 co-sponsors, including 3 Republicans. It's got Massey Green and Don Bacon. That's a new one. I hadn't heard that name on there yet. The Constitution does not permit the executive branch to unilaterally commit an act of war against a sovereign nation that hasn't attacked the U.S., Massey said in a statement when the bill was introduced. Congress has the sole power to declare war against Venezuela. Congress must decide such matters according to our Constitution. Another war powers resolution that was introduced in the House by Representative Gregory Meeks aims to stop Trump's bombing campaign against alleged drugs boats in Latin America and is expected to be brought to the floor for a vote on Wednesday. So I don't know. We'll see if this happens. I think the last time they did this, it was super close, and then I think the Trump administration essentially kind of behind closed doors is what the reporting was, and then promised that we were going to, oh, well, hey, we're not doing anything right now, so don't do anything. You know, so essentially kind of giving them kind of a handshake deal of like, hey, vote no on this and don't worry, we're not doing anything right now. But I think I've heard kind of reporting, I think a lot of them with his latest, legislative move, kind of signaled that they're kind of almost irritated that they, seems like they felt like he sort of lied to them. And also the situation, the political reality on the ground has shifted dramatically in this short period of time. So I don't know, we very well could see some sort of upset. I don't know what that is going to mean. I mean, hell, we're also, I think, 3 days away from supposed to get these Epstein files. So I don't know. I think, who knows? Maybe something, maybe we may get some sort of mea culpa type moment here soon, some sort of come to God. I'm not I'm not hopeful for that, but we'll see. Moving on over to Somalia. Apparently, U.S. airstrikes, Somali troops killed at least 7 children in a November offensive. This is some new information coming out from Drop Site. It says U.S. airstrikes and Somali government ground troops, including a militia trained by the U.S., killed at least 11 civilians, including 7 children, one as young as 7 months, during an operation on an al-Shabaab stronghold in southern Somalia last month. Drop Site News spoke to 4 witnesses of the attack from Jam, a major town in the lower Juba region that has been under control of al-Shabaab, an al-Qaeda-affiliated militant group for decades. On November 15th, the witnesses said after hours of aircraft circling overhead, shelling and bombing started, leaving body parts strewn on the ground and caught in trees. AFRICOM released a statement confirming that it conducted strikes in the area to support Somali troops. AFRICOM did not respond to requests for comment about the operation it supported killing civilians. Neither did the government of Jubaland. The baby was motionless and I was trying to save my wife, Mohammed Hassan Abdul said. Nurto Mohammed Hassan, his 7-month-old daughter, died instantly after 2 pieces of shrapnel hit her head and thigh. Nurto had been wrapped on her mother's back when the 2 were hit. Abdul tried to get his bleeding wife, Faria Hassan Omar, help at the local clinic, but with shelling was like rain. Finally, they managed to hitch a ride in a small Suzuki to get to a hospital in Jalib, al-Shabaab's de facto capital, about 40 miles north. These are the sort of things happening fairly regularly, it seems like, in Somalia. They're up to 112 bombings now. We've been covering this regularly as this number creeps up. Let's see. What did we say? The previous number was 63. So I think we said last time to get to a double, they got to get to 126. Seems like they're shooting for another high score. They're seeming to just over and over again, just trying to more and more and more. I don't know what the hell is such a big deal over in Somalia. I believe some of this too is tied up in the ISIS stuff, which seemingly, oh yes, here you go. The U.S. has also been bombing an ISIS affiliate in Somalia's northeastern Puntland region, where a little more than half of the U.S. airstrikes this year have been launched. The U.S. backs local forces in Puntland, is not under the control of the Mogadishu-based federal government. That'll be an interesting little thing to keep in the back of your mind as we cover more in this story. ISIS. This is another one that's somewhat centered on ISIS. I think there's another, if I recall correctly, it's ISIS and some other terrorist group or something they claim they're fighting over there. It's hard to keep track of all the different stuff, but yeah. So this is a semi-ISIS related. Moving on, we have Hamas confirms that a commander killed by Israeli airstrike targeting car in Gaza City. Says they essentially confirmed on Sunday that an airstrike killed Raed Saad, one of its senior commanders, as Israel continues violating the ceasefire by launching air attacks in the Strip. Now, we've been covering every day they're basically killing someone, but this one is like, in a weird way, you would think this would be like, for most people, like, oh, this is not as big of a deal because it's an actual, terrorist or whatever. well, that's if you understand what a ceasefire is. Like, yeah, they're not supposed to be killing civilians ever, but like for the most part, with a ceasefire, what you're agreeing to is to not attack the other armed group. So it's two armed groups saying, hey, we're not going to attack each other. So now here we have them brazenly attacking one of the senior commanders of the other side. So of the other armed group. So it even more, I mean, like you kind of almost can sort of get away with it in a very semantic type of way, you know, when they're just killing civilians. You're like, well, that's not the other armed group. I mean, it's obviously it's worse in another sense in another sense because these are non-combatants. I mean, it's fucked all around, but just kind of further illustrating the point of these people are not following the ceasefire whatsoever in any way, shape, or form that you really can even try to imagine what a ceasefire could be or should be. Do they even come anywhere near approaching what would be considered honoring this agreement? But we're still getting this slop from behind the scenes. I'm never going to trust this sort of bullshit anymore. I've gotten so dull to the sources say. Not that I ever was someone who took a huge went super far with any sources say, but sources say will fuck you, and especially when it comes to Israel and any sort of relation to power. We've been getting for years now, basically since Trump was in, and I think we even got him a little bit with Biden as well. Actually, we did get him a lot with Biden. We would always get these, reports say, sources say, unnamed source says. And it's all this, it's always this, the Trump administration and Netanyahu are at odds behind the scenes. They're saying mean words, or they're saying, you cut it out, bucko. You don't be doing that. You making me look silly. And they're like, so we're getting this idea of like, oh my God, the people who pay attention a little bit, to where they feel smart, but not enough to where they realize it's all bullshit. They go, he's telling him. And no, Trump denied this, but because essentially we got those. We got Barack Ravid, who's, a frequent offender of these sorts of stories. He's actually a former IDF officer. I wonder why he'd have these sort of stories come out frequently from him. But he reported that the White House scolded Netanyahu over this strike. This is what he said to him. He said, apparently this is the quote. So the White House message to Netanyahu was, if you want to ruin your reputation and show that you don't abide by agreements, be our guest. But we won't allow you to ruin President Trump's reputation after he brokered the deal in Gaza. And then they ended up asking Trump about these stories of like, oh, are you guys at odds? Which, as I've said, this has been many times. We did this back with Iran. I think we did it with Qatar. I mean, I probably could list off, a good handful, if not more, of examples of where we've gotten these stories. Whenever Israel's fucking up, we get these stories, and that's it. This is the most you get in pushback. Because they're super mad behind the scenes. Meanwhile, they're not. This is what Trump had to say about it. He says, "No, Israel and I have gone along very well. My relationship with Bibi Netanyahu has been obviously a very good one." So, but anyways, because people had asked him about about him rebuking Netanyahu over the attack, and he's kind of seemed clueless. Like, what are you talking about? And at the same time, as all this is going on, Israel is expanding their yellow line. That's what they're calling this now, the sliding yellow line. This, which is this, for those who remember how this formed, whenever this peace deal went into effect, you end up having an Israeli side and a Gaza-controlled side, or whatever you're going to call it. I think it was actually the U.S.-controlled side. I think the U.S. took one side, and Israel takes the other or something. But even though the U.S. side supposedly kind of vaguely supposed to be Gaza's, but we'll see how that works out. They're under some weird fucking, sounds like communist hellhole fucking, technocratic, whatever the hell, Larry Ellison world is what they got going on over there. I don't even remember explaining it. We covered this forever ago. They had some weird crypto scam and whatever. I don't know how that's going to end up falling in line. But essentially, when they did it, they divvied up the area, which that by itself was already a naked land grab by Israel, because it was this kind of vague, we'll kind of control this area where we've already kind of dominated anyways, and they can have this other area. And the area they were dominating is like, that was supposed to be Gaza's area to begin with. And there was sort of this little bit of a wink, like, this implication, perhaps they'd give it back, despite the fact I think a lot of people were actually straight up saying they weren't going to, which this is the case. They talk out of both sides of their mouth every time and get what they want. Yeah, that was the line. There was this weird, vague yellow line. They called it a yellow line when there wasn't even a line to begin with, and that was their line that they would just straight up murder people at. They murdered, what, I think like an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old or something recently at those. Just completely barbaric, just these imaginary lines. Then later were like, oh, well, we're actually going to put like yellow something there, like actual, I forget what they were, like concrete barriers or something. But even then, they would only space them like something like 100 yards apart or something. So there was plenty of room for accidental. Well, now they're moving it back. So just kind of just every little, take an inch, they take all the miles. You give them an inch, they take all the miles. Which is, I know, kind of a reoccurring theme with a certain group, which this group does. I'd love to stop talking about them, but they keep coming up, and they're going to come up back in this main topic that we're going to cover here in a minute. Let's get into the chat, and then we'll get into one of the main topics for the day. Let's check in. Good morning, Shaz in the cornfield. It says, put on your yarmulke. Here come Hanukkah, which I think Hanukkah was this weekend. I saw a few people posting it. When is Hanukkah? Let's look it up. I'm looking it up right now. Hanukkah it was December 14th to the 22nd. So it's a bunch of, shit. So we're probably not out of the woods yet, guys. We're December 14th to December 22nd. We still have another 6 days. Oh, that's wild. That is wild. I forgot that Hanukkah was like a whole long, like week plus thing. So, okay. Well, we'll see how this works out. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too schizophrenic, but a little bit concerning with the insane amount of things rolling out. But I guess for someone covering the news, maybe I should just be grateful. I don't know. No point focusing on the bad here. Good morning, JC. Good morning. Tilla says, I miss Tower Gang. I miss Tower Gang too. It was a fun time. It was fun. Says the real Tower Gang is the friends we made along the way, says Tom33. She says the outro of Mark Random saying Tower Gang over and over lives in my head. Brent Bree. My air fryer beef jerky is ready. I'll be right back. Just sorry, guys. All right, I'm back. And look at these babies. Fucking air fryer beef jerky. I mean, like a pound of beef jerky a day. All right, I'm going to try not to be the obnoxious beef jerky or air fryer guy, but I just got an air fryer, and it's fucking awesome. So, yeah. Anyways, let's keep going. Real John Doe says everything's a rich man's trick, or so it seems. A rich Zionist, to be more precise. Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning. EOs. YSL says EOs are toothless political posturing. In my humble opinion, I'm retarded. I think I've already forgot. What is an EO? You're gonna have to spell it out for me. I might feel stupid asking that because like, oh yeah, we just talked about that, but I don't know what you're talking about. What else we got here? Oh, Professor Parsi. He says, yo, Jose, my handle is pronounced Park. Okay, I'll try to remember that next time. Wyzuck says, Epstein, string along as your girl touching your dong, but never putting out. Yeah, we've all been there, huh? Yeah, I don't know how that's going to fall, how that's ended up. God, I'm so tongue-tied and out of it today. Can't put words together. Yeah, it is. It does feel like it's being strung along. We'll see. I'm not too incredibly hopeful, but I mean, even if they do nothing, I feel like that is still going to be. They're going to keep pounding him. I mean, we've been covering the drop site stuff on this show, and it's becoming to where, God, what was it? I think it was Huckabee or something said some shit recently where he was talking shit about the Epstein Israel connection. And he had to say oh, there's no connections, and we've gone to the point to where it's just ridiculous. So I don't know. I think there's while I don't think in any sort of official, I think even just the reporting. I know a lot of people poo-poo the idea of oh no, we only got the word out, and you're like, that's kind of a lot. That's kind of a lot to get the word out because you may not get justice for whatever given thing, but sometimes that's the most justice you're gonna get is just being preventative for the next person. So, but yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it'd be great if every one of these people actually got some real justice. but it may just be as simple as the world coming to the knowledge of, these people are fucking literal demons essentially. Who else we got in here? Yeah, they need to get you back to the Muslim hatred that was manufactured post 9/11, says Real John Doe. It definitely feels like that. They're dialing up the Muslim hatred. Seems to be the feel. Good morning, aggressively agreeing Jewmantics. Yep. Good morning. Who else we got? Good morning, Evan Griffin. Good morning. What else we got in here? Good morning. Tom33 says the Jays constantly try to trick God by reinterpreting the fine print in their books, but expect illiterate, starving Muslims to be able to follow the vaguest boundary possible. Yeah. Good point. Good morning, Rise to Liberty. He says, "Oh shit, not the air fryer beef jerky." Yeah, I've already had some. It's fucking awesome. I can make beef jerky in like 2.5 hours. And it's way cheaper than normal beef jerky. Cannot recommend it enough. Let me see. Good morning, everybody. Anyone new here? Hey, Uncle Ted's air fryer chicken wings. The trick is baking powder. That sounds pretty fire. I might have to do some air fryer chicken wings. That sounds pretty dope, actually. See, Bug Fights. He's on the air fryer game too. Beef jerky is just cow raisins, says John Black. Changed my mind. You're not wrong. Executive orders. I'm retarded. Yes, executive orders. That's what you were talking about. I forget what executive order we were talking about. Sorry. Zionism and new Christianity in the South anyways, says Shadows in the Cornfield. It sure seems like it. Good morning, Gautis. Says I just got my air fryer too, and I fucking love it. Yeah, it's pretty sick. Good morning, WC Cola. Good to see you in the chat. All right, let's get into the main topics. This might be a little bit shorter. We'll see. I say that and then I end up going way longer, but I am tired. But I want to get to this stuff. I mean, this stuff is wild. I mean, it really is just nuts. All this shit happened in a weekend, and it looks on its face pretty, from the little cursory digging I've done, this stuff looks pretty sketchy. So let's go ahead and get into the first one. The audio's out, but I don't think it really matters, but whatever. I'll bring it up. Give me a second. I got to bring the video up and down because StreamYard sucks balls. Here we go. Here is just kind of a cold open for this story. Here is the man who, the real hero of the story. And I think this should be one of the biggest takeaways, in my opinion, because I really feel like this was just, if there is a God, this was him just like going, fuck you. Like, if this is some false flag, and like, if there is a God, I think what you're about to right here is just such a beautiful fuck you from God, being like, hey, look, hey, fuck you. Because, like, obviously this seems like a ginning up anti-Muslim hatred. And while I'm not some crusader for Muslims or anything, this is beautiful right here. Watch this. This is a hero stopping one of the gunmen there. So we'll get into obviously laying out what the hell happened, but there was a shooting at Bondi Beach, which I believe is either in or near Sydney in Australia. And there was a hero that stepped up to the cause there. There were two gunmen. They were shooting some people. And one person was able to disarm one of them. I'm sure saved many lives. But let's watch the video so you can guys see how it played out. See him run up, grab the guy, kind of wrestle the gun away from him. I guess they don't show the whole video. This is who it is. It's Ahmed El Ahmed. He's a 43-year-old father of two fruit shop owner. He bravely jumped on the terrace and was shot twice by the second one. So he is a Muslim. He is a Muslim man who just happened to be, going for coffee with a friend or something. And he was the guy that wrestled the one guy, ended up getting shot by the other person. The person he took the gun from, I think, ran away. So I'm assuming he probably got detained after that because he had no other weapons or anything like that. But yeah, he was able to get a gun away from one guy, and he's just kind of looks like just peak dad vibes. Kind of maybe like I know somebody's kids are all grown up type dad. Just kind of a hard worker. Just the vibes are great. And this was a Muslim man when they clearly were trying to gin up some sort of, if we're going to say this is all fake or whatever, fake and gay, this is clearly ginning up Muslim hatred. clearly being used. And you know what? We're actually going to cover in this that even if this wasn't, let's say this is completely organic, well, they got, don't waste a good tragedy, as they say, or whatever the hell the expression is. And they, Israel totally took advantage of that. So they even tried to obfuscate, I guess, who this guy was. There was even like a weird little, which this is some creepy, kind of, odd, spooky tech stuff, which I guess whole AI backstories and seeming like articles and stuff were coming up of supposed other person who did this. I forget the name of the guy, but some supposedly a white dude, and they were trying to make it out like essentially trying to fit a whole different narrative, just some Christian, or I forget what it was supposed to be. But everyone did not want to admit that some heroic Muslim man stepped up and stopped the shooting. Which the shooting targeted, I guess, Jays, who just for some reason were on the beach, assembled in a group, an odd place to find a Jay. Usually you do not find them in sunny locations. But let's get into, back up a little bit, what the hell are we talking about here? The Bondi terror attack. So this is from, who is this from? The SMH, but I pulled this from antiwar.com, I believe. Great resource. I use that basically every day for my foreign policy portion of the show. But 16 people are dead after a gunman fired dozens of shots into crowds at Bondi Beach on Sunday. Here is what we know so far. Says residents reported police cars streaming into Bondi Beach about 6:40 p.m. Multiple gunshots were heard, and hundreds of people were seen running near Campbell Parade. Footage showed at least two men clad in black, a father and son, firing rifles from the pedestrian bridge linking Campbell Parade and Bondi Surf Life-Saving Club. Sunday marked that first evening of Jewish holiday Hanukkah. The shooters targeted the Hanukkah by the Sea Festival. Okay, there you go. So another festival, a little reminiscent of the Nova stuff with the October 7th, the Nova Festival, where more than 1,000 people were estimated to have gathered. Okay, to be fair, yeah, 1,000 Jays and a gaggle, pretty. Oh, there's some Jays. I mean, like you can sneak in. I mean, they're pretty. They blend in well in groups. So if you just get onesies, twosies. I mean, unless they're like the overt, curlies. But you get 1,000 of them. You're like, dude, I understand patterns. That's a bunch of Jews. So okay, I get the idea. I thought it was weird, from the start. Like, it happened at a beach, and it was a targeting Jews. You're like, what? What the hell is going on here? Now, there were 15 shooting victims between 10 and 87. The youngest was a child who died at Sydney's Children's Hospital. This Health Minister Ryan Park confirmed this. The older gunman also died. Further, 40 people were injured, including 4 children who were transferred to Sydney's Children's Hospital. Police say that as of Monday, 33 people remain in hospital, with 6 critical. 27, so that death number may end up raising, unfortunately. 27 people were in serious but stable conditions, including 2 police officers, a constable, and a probationary constable. They kind of go through the victims here, which, okay, we'll go through some of those ourselves. Let me see. Who are the shooters, is what it says here. The 2 gunmen are father and son who had told their family they were going on a weekend fishing trip. This is, I guess, a picture of one of them. Naveed Akram has been identified as the alleged gunman. This is one of them. Recently unemployed bricklayer, 24-year-old Naveed Akram, was arrested and taken to hospital after under police guard in a critical but stable condition. Authorities say is likely to survive. His father, 50-year-old Sajid Akram, died at the scene. He held a firearms license for recreational hunting, had 6 guns legally in his possession, and was a member of a gun club. NSW Police Commissioner Mal Yalanian said, adding he brought 6 registered guns to the beach on Sunday, which were seized. Lanyon said police knew of one shooter, but not that they were planning attack. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke revealed Sajid arrived in Australia on a student visa in 1998, but would not say where from. That's interesting. Naveed is an Australian-born citizen and came to the attention of the Australian Secret Intelligence Organization, ASIO. So keep that acronym in mind. I bet you that acronym will probably come back up. ASIO, that is their intelligence organization. That's like their, I don't know if that's more like their CIA or the FBI, but it's, some combination or one or the other, essentially kind of vibe. That's their intelligence group. He was assessed to have no indication of a serious threat of violence, and ASIO's concerns were based on his associates rather than his own character, Albanese said. So, okay, so he was on their radar, the tried and true on their radar, but it was based on his associates rather than him. So now what do we know about the hero? So people were most likely saved by 43-year-old father of two, Ahmed El Ahmed, which I also think something I forgot to mention, part of why I think it's so hilarious in a certain sense, like in a weird cosmic sense, that like even if they were able to, I mean, just the idea of like, I think they even tried to say something. I mean, we'll get into some of this. I've heard tell of people saying that there were times they even mentioned his name and still tried to like either not mention the Muslim thing or literally say something other. But it's like it's a dude named Ahmed. Like it's most like aside from being Muhammad, like there's no more aggressively Arabic name you could have, and even then, I think Ahmed is actually another name for the prophet or something like that. So it is actually really just a tiny tick below Muhammad as like an overt, violently Arabic name. So I don't know, just something great about that. Just kind of just really throwing the gum in the works of whatever the hell is trying to go on there. He's understood to have no experience with guns and was at Bondi to grab a coffee with his cousin, Jose Alconj, when bullets began raining. He was very scared, Alconj said. He said, "I'm going to die. Please see my family and tell them that I went down to save people's lives." Speaking in Arabic to journalists outside hospitals, his son awaited surgery. Ahmed's father called his son a hero and said he was in good spirits last night. He said he thanks God that he was able to do this to help innocent people and to save people from these monsters, these killers. Albanese praised Ahmed, saying his actions, along with those of police, stood in stark contrast to the horrific act committed by the killers. Now, I actually think I've heard someone say that he's got a GoFundMe going on for those who want to look at it. I don't see it in the article, but you could probably hunt that down yourself. But I think he's already gotten well over 1 million, which he deserves it. And he's also, I think he's I don't know if it said it in there, but I believe he's in the hospital. I don't know. I mean, hopefully he should be fine. I don't know. Let me see. See if they give any sort of specifics on his state. I don't see anything about his current state, but yeah, he was in the hospital, so hopefully he stays good. But he's definitely going to have some bills, and I think, hey, if he ends this as a millionaire, I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's great. Now, where did this happen at? So the footage showed two men firing what appeared to be rifles from the pedestrian bridge linking the Campbell Parade and Bondi Pavilion. So here you can kind of see it. I guess this shows that this is like Hanukkah by the sea area, this little area they've lit up in blue. Okay, so then here's the beach. Okay, so you have like I guess it's almost more like a campground. Okay, this makes more sense now. And then there's a bridge over here kind of that connects this street to like kind of more the residential looking, or maybe not residential. Maybe these are more like business. I don't know. Those look like semi-residential, like apartments and stuff. And then there's the beaches over here. So maybe that's like condos and stuff. Okay, so then they have a little almost campground type area is what it seems like. So more like a park pavilion type thing, perhaps, is what it seems like to me. Okay, that makes sense. A little bit more sense, because I was imagining a beach, because everyone calls it the beach thing. So there's the beach over there, but the shooting wasn't really occurring on the beach, is what it seems like. Here's another image of it to kind of give you an idea. Yeah, it's a Bondi Park playground. So it was like a playground, which that's kind of dark that this happened on a playground. Okay, I think we've kind of covered that pretty well for all of that. Okay, cool. That kind of laid out the stuff that we wanted to hear in that. All right, let's get into Israel's reaction, because that's become more and more a focal point these days, because they be doing weird shit like this. Netanyahu uses Bondi Beach massacre to attack Australian Prime Minister's support for a Palestinian state, which, man, I really wish I had like maybe the more I do this, the better memory I'll get, because like maybe even now the fact that we were able to recall this, I'm like, okay, that's something. But I remember pretty clearly, I don't know if it was a month, 2 months ago, how long ago it was, that there was all this stuff about what was it, the not NATO, but it was the EU or some group that was meeting in New York, I think, and I think they were getting ready to, and I think they inevitably did end up doing that. I think France, I think Australia may have been one of them as well, which is what he's referring to here. Essentially, they all kind of how do I say this? They all essentially advocated for the idea of a Palestinian state, which sounds weak, but on the political side of things, it's pretty big. I know, pathetic, right? But when they did that, there was lots of warnings, pissing and moaning from Israel that if you do this, we'll do that. They were talking about, essentially annexing more of the West Bank, which they inevitably ended up doing anyways, which they would have done either way. So it makes no difference. But then I remember pretty clearly they were saying stuff like the way they phrased it, it's like this mafia shit. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, which, I feel like that's kind of the purpose of that mafia shit. It was like, oh, you guys are going to embolden terrorism. You're going to, but it always feels like, every accusation's a confession type vibe of like, you're going to embolden terrorism. Like, are you telling me you're going to attack me? Because that kind of what sounds like what we're saying here. It was very clear that they were, it was almost like an overt, it was kind of creepy, the vibes back then. And so this stuff coming back up, there's also Australia too. We've covered quite a bit. We've had a little stories here and there the past, 4 or 6 months or so that have snuck in of these weird anti-Semitism stories, particularly in Australia. Seems like that was an odd target, was Australia for some reason. Don't really understand why. But that was one of the main ones that they seemed to be really targeting, and we covered a number of stories out of there of this essentially fake, seemingly state-sponsored fake anti-Semitism is what. So, just I don't know. I'm noticing some patterns, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they're just patterns. But let's get into this. In the wake of the shooting that targeted Jews celebrating Hanukkah in Bondi Beach, Australia, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu attacked Prime Minister Anthony Albanese over his support of a Palestinian state. So on October 17th, about 4 months ago, I sent Prime Minister Albanese a letter in which I gave him warning that the Australian government's policy was promoting and encouraging anti-Semitism in Australia, Netanyahu said at a government meeting in Dimona, southern Israel. I wrote, your call for a Palestinian state pours fuel in the anti-Semitic fire. It rewards Hamas terrorists. It emboldens those who menace Australian Jews and encourages the Jew hatred now stalking your streets, Netanyahu said, outing that Albanese replaced weakness with weakness and appeasement with more appeasement. The Israeli leader, who had been under significant criticism for his failure to prevent the October 7th attack on Israel, said that Israel expects Western governments to take more action. Netanyahu also referenced Ahmed, who was seen on video wrestling one of the gunmen and taking his rifle away. Oh, never mind. Okay, take back what I said earlier. But he says, we saw an action of a brave man. Turns out a Muslim brave man, and I salute him. So, hey, props to Netanyahu for that. This stop will these terrorists from killing innocent Jews, but it requires the action of your government, which you are not taking, Netanyahu said. 2 shooters attacked the Hanukkah celebration in Bondi, killing at least 15 people, including a 10-year-old girl. Australian police said the attackers were father and son. Yeah, we already read all that. Well, apparently it's up in the air about what's going on with them, with their what they are. God, I'm so tired. Because they were reported, I guess, initially that they were Pakistani, which I think this is the odd, weird thing earlier. Let's watch this that I was talking about with the where I was like, oh, that's weird, where they didn't say exactly where they're from. Let's watch this.
Following the Sydney Bondi attack, India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has spoken with Australian Foreign Minister Wong. Minister Jaishankar expressed India's deep condolences, and after it was established that the attacker was an Indian national, he directly conveyed India's full support and cooperation into the ongoing inquiry. He assured that Indian authorities are committed to assisting in every way to help Australian investigators uncover the cause and any possible network behind this tragedy.
So, Indian, you heard it here, at least from him. Ajit, there you go. But this is from Gen X Girl saying the bonding shooting reporting is a mess, which is another consistent theme with all these stories today. 1 second. Is the shoddy reporting initially off the jump, which is nothing all too uncommon, but it's quite excessive this time around. But apparently shooters are Indian nationals, not Pakistani. I guess is being reported. Initially they were Pakistani. Keep in mind the stuff I'm reporting right now, is very early as well. The younger shooter's mother is Italian and father is Indian. Pakistani man wrongly labeled shooter. Social media fails to correct. Then Netanyahu falsely claims Ahmed al-Ahmad, a.k.a. the Bondi hero, is Jewish. I mean, what do you say that, though? I didn't see that, though. That's where I saw this earlier. So I guess it was, but yeah, let me see. It says right here, Pakistani, this is from The Guardian, Pakistani man living in Australia describes nightmare of wrongly being labeled as Bondi attacker. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I guess there's a Naveed Akram who is an Indian, or is a Pakistani who people were thinking it was him, when in fact it was not him. It was the other guy. Is an Indian Naveed Akram. So yeah, even this initial stuff, they're getting names all wrong. I probably should not even say names, and this is where we're at with reporting, to where the like some of the big reporting stuff, like right off the jump, and a lot of times not even to know reporters fault their own. It'll be like people like Kash Patel coming out with stuff, making statements of who's coming out. It's like, well, I mean, what the hell? I mean, that is the head of the FBI. You think? I mean, if that'd be a pretty fair thing for me to cite when I'm saying who done it. But we're at a point to where it seems like almost incompetence is the norm. It's quite ridiculous. But all right, let's pop over to Hotstar here. This is actually who wrote, this is Simon Dovey, who wrote Eye of the Chicken Hawk, great book. But he is actually who I don't know if maybe he lives in Australia, I have no idea. But he's actually, I remember he's the one that I've been covering occasionally, some of his tweets about some of the stuff, the weird ISIS or anti-Semitic type activity going on over in Australia. So he seems to be covering that quite a bit. But here's one of them. Here's one, like God, I'm so tripping over my words today. I'm just so tired, so out of it. What I'm trying to say is he's been covering this stuff, and so he, in the aftermath of this shooting, he's been, putting out some bangers, tracking this stuff pretty well, and seemingly connecting with some of his other stuff. So here is him sharing from CNN World. 12-year-old girl and rabbi among the victims of shooting, Jewish community figure says. So 12-year-old girl and a rabbi are among the victims of the fatal shooting in Sydney. Alexander Rivchin, chief executive of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, told CNN's Victor Blackwell a short while ago. I know everyone who was there. That's an event where I attend with my family every single year, Rivchin said, adding that he was scheduled to speak at the event as he's done for the last decade, but had to drop out last minute due to scheduling conflicts. Well, Hotstar here is quote tweeting something here. This is a response of his to Alex Rivkin, which is an old tweet of his. It says, seeing Alex Rivkin, the guy he's talking about who just commented on this Sydney beach shooting, says seeing a group resembling an Al-Qaeda terror cell openly pledging to carry out criminal acts is chilling and disturbing. It doesn't matter that they think they're doing something just and righteous. Islamic terrorists and neo-Nazis think that too. What matters is that we remain a country of laws and not allow bands of zealots to decide what is a legitimate target for violence and criminal acts. Today is a business they oppose, and tomorrow will be individuals, politicians, journalists, or religious institutions they deem impure. We expect this incident to be investigated and for those responsible to be met with the law. What he's referring to is something back in July. It says, this is an article. It says, we have your addresses. There's chilling threat to Melb workers by anti-Israel cell. So they've had these sort of stories leaking in this, we have your addresses, to some anti-Israel group, which, okay, we're supposed to take super serious, I guess. And here's Hotstar saying, hey, wasn't your house targeted in one of the synagogue arsons carried out by local criminals who were paid in cryptocurrency? How did they know where you lived, Alex? And why are you now trying to blame these kind of attacks on an Islamic terror cell? You should be investigated for terrorism. Not joking, which mega base. And he shares a couple articles here. It says 2 men charged in connection with alleged anti-Semitic attack on former Sydney home of Jewish leader Alex Rivkin. So this is a frequent offender of, anti-Semitism, attacks. Which, who knows? Maybe he's just some super Jew that everyone's targeting. I have no idea. And then here's another article. It says Newton synagogue arson accused, motivated by money, not hatred, court told. So this guy just swirling around these sort of stories. And then here is a politician speaking on this. Let's see how the politicians in Australia are talking about this. 1 second. Of course, StreamYard had to flub right there. So here we go. Let's see how how the politicians are speaking about this act.
community
Of course,
is
I don't
the
have it
worst.
up. My bad. Let me do this again.
The
Here we go.
Bondi terror attack on the Jewish community is the worst ever terror attack Australia has suffered. It's the worst mass casualty event since Port Arthur. And like Port Arthur changed our country forever, the Bondi terror attack must change our country forever. The Jewish community is rightly angry today that their years of warnings to governments have not been heeded, that their worst fears have been realised. A 10-year-old child has been murdered. A rabbi has been murdered. Someone who survived the Holocaust, who survived Nazi Germany, who made their home here in Australia, has been murdered. And the Jewish community is outraged that their warnings have not been heeded, that action has not followed the many platitudes that we've heard over the last 2 years. I thought the firebombing of a synagogue not far from here, which we now know was an act of state-sponsored terror by the Islamic Republic of Iran, would have been a sufficient wake-up call for governments, state and federal, to act, to take this seriously, to recognise
But I don't know how we know that, but well, let's go on.
anti-Semitism for the corrosive cancer that it is for our society, and to show determination and leadership to change. But it wasn't. This must be that moment. Our Prime Minister, our Premiers, our governments must stand up and they must lead. They must implement the recommendations that they have been sitting on for months now to address this cancer, to root it out. Because if they don't, then Australia will be forever changed in a terrible way that we will all regret. And we will have to answer to our children and grandchildren and to the Jewish community of our inaction and the horrible things that that has caused.
I just now noticed that little hat he was wearing. Oh, that explains a lot. Well, here, but Hot Star says here, it says this politician blames Australians for the ISIS terror attack carried out by ISIS. He believes ISIS was radicalized by Australian anti-Semitism. His plan is to stop ISIS by making Australians adopt a special definition for anti-Semitism. Then ISIS will no longer be radicalized. Moving on, continuing down this thread, here's another one from Hotstar. It says, earlier this year, ASIO chief Mike Burgess, I told you that acronym would come back up, essentially Australian intelligence, stated anti-Semitism had become his agent's number one priority in terms of threats to life. 9 months later, a terrorist on his watch list traveled to the Philippines for training 1 month before a terror attack under his agency's watch. Fun fact, Philippines, that's where Terry Nichols made a number of trips to, and there's all sorts of, there's open areas of research there. There's a very, for those who do want to get into research or whatever, there's a spot that's probably rife for it. Terry Nichols' time there in the Philippines, there's been the research has been wanting, at least, as it seems, but it does seem to glow perhaps a tiny bit. So just little McVeigh-noided there, so that's interesting. Here is the Mike Burgess. His Australian spy chief has declared anti-Semitism the top priority for his organization in terms of threat to life. Addressing Senate estimates late on Tuesday, Mike Burgess told Liberal State Senator James Patterson there had been a concerning increase in acts of anti-Semitic hatred in the wake of the October 7th attacks. Right now, in terms of my organization, threats away to life, in terms of threats to life, it's my agency's number one priority because of the weight of incidents we've seen played out in this country. When asked if a form of racism had ever before been the number one concern for ASIO, Mr. Burgess replied, I don't believe we've done that in our history, certainly not in my 6 years of Director General. And then continuing on, they found a manifesto, I guess. So let's read this. It says Bondi shooters terror links revealed as police investigate manifesto. It says Bondi Beach gunman Naveed Akram was a volunteer member of a street preaching group in Sydney's West, which has links to multiple Islamic State devotees, including martyrs and would-be soldiers, before he and his father carried out the country's worst terror attack. Police are now investigating a trip taken by the pair to the Philippines in the week before the massacre. And now Sajid Akram legally secured high-powered weapons despite his son's long-known links to extremist circles. Police sources also told this masthead that Akrams had prepared a manifesto before the massacre. This is according to multiple police sources. The father and son are believed to have documented their beliefs in a manifesto before Sunday's attack. However, no physical copy was found at the beach. So they're still typing it up. Somebody's fucking yelling at the intern saying, hurry the fuck up. So we might get an AI manifesto. We'll see. They need to get on it. See, this is how lazy. They don't even have the manifestos ready anymore. And then also, hell, this is the one that's probably gonna the most traction here. This little side story and all of this. Hey, let me ask you, what do you think you guys would do in a mass shooting event? Would you really feel the need to get a dope picture like this? I mean, this does go pretty hard. Here's human rights lawyer Aryan Ostrovsky sharing a photo of himself after being shot at Bondi Beach in Sydney. He survived. So here he is. Here he is, just all covered in blood, just getting the perfect little selfie laying on the ground. Weird. I mean, I don't know. I guess, crazy things. People do crazy stuff, right? Crazy. Well, actually, I'll come back to tell you exactly who this guy is in a second. I did want to finish off on the ISIS point. Apparently, they did find an ISIS flag in the car. I mean, now the flag. I mean, who knows? I have no idea. Is that real? Is it not? I mean, anytime you find a flag, is that just the Feds planted it? Is that really the flag? Who knows? Well, let's get back to that lawyer. Who is this guy? This is Arsen Otrovsky. Let's look at him. He's a human rights lawyer, CEO at the International Legal Forum, and senior fellow at Misgav Institute for National Security and Zionist Strategy. So he's on the U.S. Foreign Affairs Committee subcommittee. He put remarks. He gave remarks at the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee subcommittee in the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia on Israel, Hamas, and Gaza. International law ramifications arising out of the October 7th Hamas massacre. So this is how this guy's literally making remarks in the Congress and shit. Here's holding a book, says While Israel Slept, was who wrote that. And here's another little blurb from him. It says, opposing Zionism, the Jewish people's right to self-determination in their ancestral homeland, especially while advocating it for others, is unequivocally anti-Semitism. Today, anti-Zionism is a coward's way of trying to masquerade their Jew hatred. That's from Arsen Ostrovsky, the CEO of the International Legal Forum. This person saying here is, if you had any doubts about Zionist networks and intelligence stage shooting incidents, this should be all you need. Absolute rubbish. This theater will be used to justify ramping up security policy, new speech and anti-Semitism laws, more funding to Israel, and more money funneled to private pro-Israel groups under the banner of community safety. And let me see. And it gets even weirder. So here is... it goes even further. Look at this. Here is an image. This is being going around. Now, we're in this post-reality world, so I'm not even taking a stance here, but even the idea that this is where we're at, let's follow along. Just bear in mind, I literally have no idea if this thing is AI or not. So there's a photo of what people are claiming is that guy from before. Here's Adam Media saying, is this real? Who, to be fair, Adam is I think he's kind of, from my recollection, a little bit better, more journalistic, than some of the slop, grifter accounts, but he does kind of lean into a little bit. So this could be complete bullshit that he's just doing for engagement. But here's a photo of what looks like the guy, kind of getting painted on. Looks like he's kind of at a set. And then here's this person, Eaton Fishburger, says, this image, hey, Elon Musk, this image is defamatory towards Ostrov, the guy we were just talking about. The AI image falsely implies that Arsen is a crisis actor involved in the Sydney massacre in which 15 people were murdered. The poster uses question marks to feign plausible deniability, but the intent is obvious. And then now we get this back and forth where he himself starts asking if Grok, with Grok, people start arguing with him and doing the whole hey, Grok, is this real? Yada, yada, yada. Apparently Grok, the AI that people use for Twitter, it claims that this is real. So he says, from Grok, based on my analysis, God, where'd it go? Based on my analysis of the image, it does not appear to be AI generated. It shows consistent details typical of a real photo, like natural lighting, object placements, and no common AI artifacts such as distorted hands and textures. It seems to depict a behind-the-scenes makeup application with fake blood on a film set. So now now to this though, I have seen other where people that point them, put them next to each other and say, let me see if I can even find it in here, where they put a side by side of his blood and then that, and show that it didn't match up. So, but either way, it became this whole, he freaked out, goes, oh, this is clearly AI and this is defamatory and yada yada. And then everyone goes out, well, hey, it looks like it's not. I don't know which it is, but even the idea that this is where we're at, where we literally don't know. I mean, this literally could have been, we are in the time where Israel could have done it, and they could have literally just seeded out this photo on purpose, knowing that they can just go, oh, it's AI. And then, but no, here's the real photo. And they just kind of spit in our face. I mean, this stuff does seem pretty over the top right now, where it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit of a, 2 + 2 = 5 thing. Like, hey, say it, say what it equals. What is 2 + 2 equals? Equals 5, right? Like, that's kind of what it feels like. Like, you almost have to swallow the bullshit, but I don't think, at least not this audience, is not ready to swallow the bullshit yet. But let's also, then we got people showing up in all sorts of different stuff, which another consistent theme in these stories we're going to be covering today. Here's Ian Malcolm saying the same Jews survived both 10/7 and Bondi Beach. They also mentioned a Holocaust survivor. There's a Holocaust survivor there as well. Says that is so improbable that according to Grok, you're 34 times more likely to win the Powerball jackpot. How curious. Now, this just might be another example where Grok might fail. So that's why I don't like to lean on Grok or any AI. Neither should you. I mean, there's uses for it, but definitely don't lean on it too much. Because here we have a follower of the show, Black Guy, our resident Australian, saying this is not odd at all. He says, I lived in Dover Heights for a bit. It's practically an IDF holiday resort. It's not a Jewish suburb. It's an Israeli suburb. Even the house's architecture is straight out of Tel Aviv. Security-minded boxes behind high walls. He says, I'm not saying the guy is not sus, but odds are he's not even the only guy at both events. This is why, guys, got to keep a cool head. Don't be retards. And as I say, keep your eye on the ball. And I guess if you do like to get into the political conversations, listen, I'm sure this is part, I wouldn't be surprised. This is strategy of tension. I mean, I'm sure it's not literally like, oh, we're going to take the guns, but just, general, we want them to more embrace the security state, give away their rights, yada, yada, yada. But here's Jeremy Kaufman pointing out the obvious, saying an Australian filmed the terrorist attack for 11 minutes. So there was an Australian that actually literally filmed this whole thing for 11 minutes and said most of America, this person would own a gun and could have returned fire. If you guys go check out those videos on your own, which we're not going to do here, these people literally had bolt action rifles. So they had to every time, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can get a lot of people with a bolt action, but they had to, there's not a semi, they're having to, every single time, I don't know if they've had a cartridge, because sometimes you have bolt action that do have, it's a clip or magazine or whatever, but most of them you have to load individually. So I'm pretty sure they had to load individually every single time, and they still did the damage they did, and to the extent that someone literally got to record for 11 minutes. This would not happen. I just cannot imagine that happen in America. That's absolutely insane. Obviously, yeah, people can do crime, but that doesn't mean I want to give up my guns, especially when you realize what's really probably going on here. All right, let's pop in the chat. That's enough for Gladio Down Under. Sorry, I know I'm probably not doing the greatest presenting. I'm all scatterbrained, and it's so much being thrown at us at once. But we're gonna process all this together. We're going to Global Goy Gladio. God, that's a tongue twister. Global Goy Gladio. There we go. We'll get into that in a moment. Get into the serious stuff and kind of bring this a little bit full circle. Kind of talk about the origins of ISIS. Good morning, Rise to Liberty says, what are the odds this terrorist attack would happen in the same place that the recent satanic ritual abuse case was exposed? Oh yeah. Was that a 764 one or that, yeah, you should bring that up tonight. Bring that up on Already Dead. Don't let me forget that one, because that's interesting. I forgot about that. Yeah, good call. Here's WC Cola says, I'm a Goy Down Under. This wouldn't have happened if our prime minister didn't recognize Palestinian statehood, apparently. I know, right? Ridiculous, isn't it? Cop shot him, says Uncle Ted. Okay, cool. Says a fruit shop owner, says WC Cola. Longer clip where you see him get shot twice by the shooter's son. They were saying the hero was the shooter. I guess it was what they were saying online for a little bit, says Wise Elk. Uncle Ted says Jay's on the beach celebrating the first day of Hanukkah. Yep. Good morning, Matt. Good morning. Let me see. Here's Shouts in the Cornfield. Says many of the people at that music festival were dual citizens who lived in Europe. Draft Dodgers. Gee, nobody would be interested in sacrificing them, huh? Who else we got? Yeah, Marnimac says, I demand better false flag psyops. They're getting so lazy. Yeah, they don't even have the manifesto ready to go. Good morning, Jacqueem Caron. That's a fun name to say. Good morning. Muriel John Doe says, a bolt action appeared to be a European model with very short action. They are much quicker cycling. Other was a shotgun. Okay. Let me see. Here's Shadow. So they haven't changed the definition of Semitic. They just convinced the world to completely ignore it. That is impressive, especially in the age of Google, since Arabs are 100% Semitic. Yeah, it is ridiculous, right? This is why you tell them whenever someone says, "Are you anti-Semitic?" So, no, I'm not anti-Semitic. I love Arabs. They're great. See, and then they just throw them off. Just don't explain yourself. Just keep moving. Keep it moving. Let me see. Damn Muslims fucking up our false flags, says Tom33. Yeah. Wise Elk says Australia is having a nationalism revival. Gotta make tar to slap the patriots with all anti-Semitism brush. Yeah, that's right. I know Black Eyes mentioned a few times. They've got some. They've had some of those. I don't know, far right, whatever the hell. I mean, obviously, I don't really know enough about these guys to how to properly characterize them. But the new right or whatever you want to call it, they kind of have some of a nationalist uprising, like you said. Good morning, JC. You had to drop out out last minute. I got the Jew call. Yep. Good morning, Meat Cavern. Good morning. Jew on Jew crime. It sure looks that way. Good morning, Clockwise. Man, it's funny. I was just thinking about it. I'm literally sated. I think I told you guys I reapplied for monetization because I got it taken away years ago, back in the age of censorship, and I applied for it again, and here I am. With an episode where the title literally has Goy in it 3 times. I've said Jew probably at least 100 today. I don't know if I'm getting that monetization get back, people. So be sure to support the show over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. What else we got in here? Good morning, user chatted. Good morning. Here we go. WC Cola. All right, I appreciate this big time, actually. The ASIO equals CIA. There you go. So the acronym... The one Australian intelligence group we've been talking about, that's like their CIA, according to WC Cola, who claims to be from Australia. So, and then the AFP equals more like FBI. So that makes this glow even more, big time. Okay. I think they're part of the Five Eyes, too, which is like the big intelligence group, which I think we're part of. So, yeah. Here's Shadow. Says Nichols and his ex-wife bald like babies. When talking about Nichols' late 94 trip to the Philippines, he clearly expected to be killed there. Yeah, he did. He sure did. Good morning, Shannon. Aggressively agreeing. Says, before today, I'd never heard a Jew with an Australian accent. That caught me off guard. A little weird, right? A little weird. Good morning, Six Art. Good morning. Here's Shadows. These Israeli agents are amateurist at best. They're way too gung-ho. In my opinion, they do more PR damage than good. Perhaps, I don't know. We'll see. They're definitely going hard, so I have no idea. Seems like we're being played by a bunch of spoiled children. Yep, it does feel like that for sure. Aggressively says Arson moved back to Australia just 2 weeks before the shooting to join a Jewish Australian think tank and public affairs organization. Odd timing. Pretty good timing. Yep. Here's Smartamax says 6 milli dead in the Holly. Yet I often hear about Holly survivors quite often, right? Seems like they're spreading, they're proliferating. If no detachable mag, then stripper clips probably, says Johnny Shank, talking about the gun. Let me see. The dad had 6 licensed firearms, says WC Cola. Yeah, I'm curious how I've heard mixed things about the guns thing. Is that crazy for them to have 6 licensed firearms? I mean, I've heard some places it's a nightmare to get guns, some that it's not. I mean, depending. I don't know. I'd be curious what you think. Is that odd that he has that many guns? I mean, that seems like a lot of guns. Or is it just odd that he has guns at all? I don't know how hard it is to get one there. I've heard that you can get like I feel like I've heard tell in over there you can get like kind of, I don't know, like little 22 rifles and bolt actions and kind of like basic type stuff that you could say was hunting something or other. Shadow said the dad had also been investigated by Aussie government from domestic intelligence. I didn't know that. That's interesting. JC's the fact this happened specifically at a place where mostly IDF and Israelis hang out is immediately telling. Yeah, that makes it make more sense. That's for sure. Let me see. JC, you would think an area like that would be more secure unless security was lax on purpose. Actually, no, I don't agree with that. Actually, I think that area where I looked at, I actually don't think it'd be that secure. It looked kind of just like a park area. Like, I don't know if you went to, I know we're in America, so it's kind of hard to compare, but I feel like if I went to a park, I might expect that like maybe there's like a cop within like a half mile or a quarter mile, maybe. Like maybe it just happens to be one that, could get there in like a minute or two, but not one like on site. I wouldn't think. So I don't know. Because, yeah, it looked kind of like an open park / pavilion type area. They literally suspected the father of being ISIS, and they licensed him to have guns anyway. Shadows. Okay, there you go. Good morning, Northside. He says, are you telling me Australia is real? No, not really. Okay, WC Cola responding to the questions about the gun says, kinda, yes, as in it's weird. Says, especially because he lived in the city. He says it's easier in rural areas. Yeah, that was kind of my understanding. Shadows in Cornfield says the reason they couldn't kill Nichols is they would have had to explain his disappearance. Yeah. Let me see. Jose is a handsome young brute, says Gerald. Aw, thank you, sweetheart. That is nice of you. Real John Doe says no semi-autos allowed. Okay, let's get into the serious stuff. Let's get right into it. Of course, the audio's out. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right. We also had an attack in Syria. Let's see what Trump had to say about it. Let's hear his statements.
So we mourn the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. There was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well. But we mourn the loss. These are 3 great people. And just a terrible thing. Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Mr. President, will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will.
And will...
I don't know. Not that I want him to retaliate against ISIS, but something about that didn't seem convincing. Well, I don't know. Am I the only one who finds this funny? Watch this again.
Very sad.
Mr. President, will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will.
And will the U.S. forces...
Yeah, sure, whatever. Fuck off, bitch.
...attack again?
We're going to be seeing.
Should the U.S. still be...
We will retaliate. Thank you very much.
Very annoyed with the press, it seems, talking about retaliation. Well, who is this gunman? Well, apparently he was a member of Syrian's government security forces. This is written up by Dave DeCamp a couple days ago. So the gunman who killed 2 members of the Iowa National Guard and an American civilian interpreter in an attack in Palmyra, central Syria on Saturday, was a member of the Syrian government security forces, according to the Syrian Interior Ministry. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights first reported the attacker was a member of security forces and called for the Syrian government, which is led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an offshoot of al-Qaeda, to get rid of members who have an ISIS ideology. The Syrian Interior Ministry claimed that before the attack, Syrian authorities had decided to fire him for having extremist Islamic ideology and had planned to do so on Sunday. We discovered him in December and were going to dismiss him, but we didn't make it in time because it was a holiday, said ministry spokesman Nawar al-Din al-Baba. According to the Cradle, a Syrian security official told AFP that the attacker had been in the security forces for more than 10 months and was posted to several cities before being transferred to Palmyra. According to Wael Assam, a Palestinian journalist who has covered the conflict in Syria for many years, the perpetrator has been identified as Tariq Shatuf al-Hamd from the Aleppo countryside. Assam said that al-Hamd was previously a member of ISIS, but after the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad, he traveled to Idlib, the former home base of HTS, and joined the General Security. The attack occurred when U.S. military officers were meeting with Syrian Interior Ministry officials while U.S. and Syrian troops stood guard at a base near the city of Palmyra. According to the Wall Street Journal, a lone gunman appeared in a window and opened fire on the U.S. and Syrian soldiers, and he was pursued by Syrian troops and killed. However, according to Essam's report, the attacker blew himself up. So a little bit of mixed reporting there. I also think I'm going to go ahead and call. I do not buy this reporting for a fucking second. Obviously, I'm not saying anything bad about Dave. I mean, like the report. Obviously he's reporting on the report, so Dave's not doing anything wrong here. But I'm just more admitting this seems sketchy. I mean, keep in mind they're talking about an interpreter. They're talking about Syrian Interior Ministry officials, some meeting. So this sounds like some glowy shit is what it sounds like. Then you have ISIS in the mix. The attacker tried to reach the meeting room in the headquarters of the General Security in Palmyra, where senior officers are present. In the corridor, he clashed with the American guards and the translator and blew himself up, which translators are extremely common for intel, and we're already talking about a literal interior ministry. So this is sounds like cabinet level type people essentially. And then you have an interpreter looks a little glowy. I mean, obviously we have no idea exactly what went on. He says security forces confirmed to me that Syrian intelligence Issam also suggested that other members of the Syrian security forces were involved in the attack. Security sources confirmed to me that Syrian intelligence, along with coalition forces, arrested 6 elements from the general security at the HQ in Palmyra, accused of coordinating the operation with him, and said that they are from the group that moved with him from the desert to the general security in Idlib. He added that Syrian authorities were unable to identify his previous affiliation with the organization, and there are hundreds like him due to the large number who joined, in which the security apparatus needed after the fall of the regime. For those who forgot, we have been in there for well over a decade, aggravating the situation between Assad and the Al-Qaeda rebels and ISIS and all the different factions going on there, essentially bobbing back and forth between effectively supporting both sides. Via money and /or military support, also training moderate rebels. One of those ones we're seeing right now. This moderate rebel that we probably were funding at some point. That country fell apart when Assad finally, after forever and ever of us essentially, egging on a revolution. Essentially, they kind of got one to work, and Assad fled the nation, and it got essentially just recently, in the past year, fell to shit, and now we have the former leader or former member of Al Qaeda running the nation over there, and surprisingly trying to be incredibly conciliatory with the U.S. and Israel. And seems Israel does not really give a shit. It seems Israel wants them to go to shit, particularly. They want it to continue to be chaos, probably so they have more of an excuse to nab up more of that land. But President Trump and other U.S. officials have called the incident an ISIS attack and have left out the detail that the perpetrator was a member of the Syrian military, which the U.S. has allied itself with despite HTS's al-Qaeda past. And as of Sunday, ISIS hasn't taken credit for the shooting. So this was an ISIS attack against the U.S. and Syria in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them. So they're kind of posturing this as an ISIS attack when in reality maybe it is, but it's also coming from the security, the Syrian security forces that we essentially put there. So this creates it a whole much more. These are the people they're literally working hand in hand with over there, and they could basically kill them at any time. It seems like. He added that Shara, the Syrian president, is extremely angry. Trump recently hosted Shara at the White House. Both Trump and U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth vowed there would be retaliation for the attack. And according to SOHR, there's been escalation of U.S. operations in the region, including surveillance flights and arrests of people on suspicion of affiliation with ISIS and /or adopting its ideology. But despite this, we're seeing no posture changes in Syria after they're killed. So, because we know here, the real solve would be getting the fuck out of there. That would probably be the smartest thing to do, because there's literally no good reason for us to be there. But a War Department official said on Monday the Pentagon has no planned forced posture changes regarding the U.S. military presence in Syria following a deadly attack in the country over the weekend that killed 3 Americans, including 2 members of the Iowa National Guard and a civilian interpreter. Currently, we have no forced posture changes to announce, a War Department official told antiwar.com when asked if the Trump administration was planning to withdraw from Syria. The U.S. withdrew a few hundred soldiers from Syria earlier this year, but the comment signals a full withdrawal isn't on the table. There are currently around 1,000 U.S. troops in the country, a Pentagon official told the New York Times. Also on Monday, the U.S. Army identified the 2 members of the Iowa National Guard who were killed, Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar, 25, of Des Moines, Iowa, and Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, 29, of Marshalltown, Iowa. So really sad. There's no real good reason for really any military member, let alone the fucking guard, to be there. And hopefully we can, maybe something can happen there, although I am doubtful of that. If anything, this looks like an attempt to drag us further and further into this quagmire. This is completely unrelated. I'm sure this is completely unrelated right now, but as this is all going on, we also have Israel in Syria going into Quneitra, which is part of Syria, and just blackbagging people. There's been these stories here and there in Syria. I've been a little bit neglectful in covering Syria stuff recently. Perhaps I should have been better. If I had known this was happening, I would have. But yeah, they've been doing some wild shit over there. Troops continue to carry out raids into southwest Syria, once again centering on the northern parts of Quneitra Governorate in and around the town of Jabata al-Kushab, where troops established a checkpoint at the key Ain al-Baida junction nearby, hassling civilians and vehicles trying to pass by. Such checkpoints are becoming increasingly common in Quneitra and parts of Dara, where Israeli troops move into an area, set up a checkpoint, and usually stay for just a few hours before withdrawing. Only occasionally does anything happen beyond inconvenience for the locals. Israeli troops were also operating in the area of Al-Hamadia village, where they captured 3 people on the outskirts of the village who were gathering firewood. What they're being charged with is unclear, and reportedly they were just arbitrarily arrested. Here, too, such incidents are not uncommon. Over the weekend, the IDF captured a pair of young men in another operation near Batna, though they released them after a relatively short period of time, and the IDF never released a statement revealing why they were detained in the first place. While the IDF is eager to spin their operations on various other fronts as major successes, often without much backing them up, they tend to make few comments about their operations in Syria, which began with an invasion in December of 2024. In that invasion, Israel occupied the demilitarized zone between Syria and the occupied Golan Heights, and Israeli officials have maintained that they tend to keep that zone and want Syria to create another new demilitarized zone, separating the old one from the rest of Syria. I didn't catch that part the first time go around reading the story. Oh, wow, that's funny. So for those who are unaware, how this kind of started is whenever Syria fell, Israel immediately ran to the fucking border. We gotta have a demilitarized zone. We need a zone where we can have a buffer zone because it's gonna be chaos over here. So we need to have an area that's demilitarized. And so essentially we're gonna occupy that area and demilitarize it with our military. Which is kind of funny in all of its own. And so essentially creates this buffer, and like, oh well, we're not stealing your land. We're demilitarizing this area to protect our nation. And then now they're literally talking about demilitarizing. It's just naked land grabs. It's funny. That invasion and occupation didn't mark the end of Israel's operation on Syrian territory, as they've regularly gone deeper into Syria, though with temporary checkpoints and seemingly random detentions. Those operations seem to accomplish little to nothing, which may be why the IDF rarely even notes them in the press. Well, let's get a little bit into... Oh, wow. I just realized, man, it did that weird thing where it just dumps the visual aid. Sometimes StreamYard just literally just completely kicks it out. That's great. All right, at least I wasn't playing any videos. But, all right, here is a video for you guys to watch. Digging a little bit into the origins of ISIS.
ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Who's really behind them? Is it just a coincidence that they've happened to attack absolutely everybody except for Israel?
So ISIS, the best way, that one's just so simple. Like, that's a layup given to us by the Israelis themselves. Israeli secret intelligence services. These are fake Muslims who do not practice anything even remotely close to what the Quran and Islam says. I say this as a Christian. So these people that you have been manipulated into believing are your enemies and confused with ISIS, the head-chopping galore hypocrites who have no Islamic nothing in them, a creation of the Jewish state.
ISIS and Al-Qaeda.
Publicly, I thought it was a reasonable question, but the trouble is, you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, CIA, or in our case, the Mossad. We thought we should ask, what shall we call it in English? You can translate the Hebrew words, as I said, Mossad is institute. But when they write a letter to their friends in the CIA or the British intelligence, what do they call themselves? It took a while. It was a matter of asking the Prime Minister's spokesman. The best you could do, because officially the Mossad is under the Prime Minister's office. And I think he sort of wondered why you want to know and all that, so we explained. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. I mean, if it were to have initials, it would be ISIS. Just simple words like that. Interestingly enough, kind of a British model.
Huh, interesting. A British model, which that's funny they mentioned that. They're kind of the OGs in the intel world. Moving on, I don't know if you guys remember this at all. Remember recently on 60 Minutes where a Mossad agent came on to talk to whoever the lady is over there to let him know about the sort of stuff Mossad does. Well, here's a little sampler of that for those who don't recall, or just to jog your memory for those who do.
How did you convince Hezbollah to buy this?
Well, obviously, they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from, or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel, shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
So there you go. The world is their stage. Hey, I guess it's just a matter of whether you believe them or not. All right, let's roll through the chat, and then we'll get into domestic. Gladio, aggressively agreeing, says the head-chopping ex-Al-Qaeda leaders devastated Americans have died. Shadows in Cornfield saying he was wrong about the father being investigated. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I didn't see that anywhere. But he said the son was investigated. The father had the gun license, just to clear that up. But that's massively incompetent. Yes, it does seem that way. Let me see. Anything else in the chat worthwhile? Assad completely giving up, still a mystery, says Northside. Well, actually, funny enough, we covered in this show. I don't think it's actually that much of a mystery. I think you just kind of saw the writing on the wall, and they've been arranging this for a while. So we covered in our Jeffrey Epstein coverage a while back that he was having talks. I mean, so this is over at Drop Site where you can see back in what was it, like 20... I want to say it was like around 2012-ish or something. I forget specifically, but there were backdoor discussions with Ehud and Putin and Epstein, kind of mediating all of these different things. I brought up multiple times that, from that reporting, there was actually, literal instances of fucking Epstein big dogging Putin, basically being like, no, if you want a meeting with me, you will set aside the time. So this is a level of influence this guy has. And he was essentially mediating discussions behind the scenes about, how they would deal with Assad, essentially wanting him out, and essentially arranging some sort of a safe passage deal, just is what it sounds like, which is exactly what ends up happening. So it looks like perhaps the timetable wasn't correct exactly as Epstein initially planned, but it looks like they end up going with his plan. So I think this is one of those things that was somewhat arranged behind the scenes. I think they probably just got to a point where the leverage was, because I forget the specifics, but they literally had like a terrorist group that was like, or Shara's group, HTS, it was like literally about to storm. They could have, if they gotten some help here and there, they could have probably, could have stopped it, but I forget the details of what was going on the ground, but he wasn't in the greatest spot, so I think it really was just, somebody behind the scenes was like, all right, now is the time, and Assad was like, all right, I'm out of here. So But yeah, here we go. Shadow says Gladio prefers to recruit brothers, fathers, and son teams. That way they can exert pressure on one another to keep them from dropping out or tattling ultimate peer pressure. That's a good point. Good morning, Bobo. Good morning. Good morning. Scott's asking if I'm putting on some size. No, just working out, buddy. No creatine, just lots of protein and lots of working out. Actually, not even that much. I'm doing like work out like 30 minutes a day. Go for a run on my rest days, and that's about it. What else we got in here? Hit that like button. Bobo's reminding you guys as he pops in here. Let me see. We love full screen Jose. This guy is a beast. Good morning, Black Eye. Good morning. Good morning. We covered some of your tweets here earlier. Gerald's posting a bunch of juice boxes for some reason. I have no idea why he would do that. Alien says jihad is every Muslim's duty in the Quran. No variations, just not all of them read it. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the authority on that whatsoever. Let me see. Ej says, brah, we're going to need some funny cat videos one day. Well, guys, tag me in funny cat videos. This is how the show works. I mean, I do, source my own, I produce my own content here, but like, you guys help me. Tag me and stuff online. If you see something interesting, go at Tower Gang Jose on Twitter or whatever, or share. Find a way to get to me. I mean, I don't necessarily cover everybody's everything, but you guys help create the show. So help a brother out. Good morning, Tony Shin. I said, quartz, not marble. You are right. I was a retard and said the other day, for some reason, I said this is granite. I'm retarded. It was quartz. I misspoke. And yeah, bottom line to Shadows, the Australian government definitely knew these men were dangerous. Jihad means struggle. David is a jihadist, says Nadia Sharara. Goddess, you're talking about making funny videos of my cats. I'm not going to make funny videos of my cats. That's not my style. All right, guys, let's get into domestic Gladio. Let's start off with this. I thought this was a kind of a fun schizo way to introduce this, these stories. It kind of ties in, for those unaware, Rob Reiner and his wife were actually found dead over the weekend too. Not going to cover that one too deeply, but this schizo thread from Nick Hinton, I felt like kind of funny in an interesting way, tied that into the Brown shooting that we're about to cover. So it says, wow, credit to Secret Sun blog for pointing this all out. It really seems the elites are using sacrifices and subliminal rituals to summon the great old ones, just like the thread below describes. I mean, I giggle, but it's actually not that crazy from my digging into these fucking psychos. The recent shooting at Brown University happened in Providence, Rhode Island, where Lovecraft lived and died. The Brown University Library even has an extensive collection of Lovecraft's letters and original manuscripts. Oddly enough, there was an episode of Night Gallery where Professor Peabody's last lecture, called Professor Peabody's Last Lecture, which was about an academic who teaches a course about the great old ones at a school in New England. However, the professor mocks the great old ones, causing a supernatural storm to form outside the classroom. Then he transforms into a Lovecraftian swamp creature. Ironically, the professor was played by the actor Carl Reiner, the father of Rob Reiner, the actor who was just found dead with his wife at their home in L.A. Some suspect they were murdered to cover up crimes committed by Epstein, and like the thread below says, Epstein may have been sacrificing sex trafficking victims to Lovecraft's demonic gods. So maybe these great old ones are also connected to QAnon's infamous slogan, "The storm is coming." The MAGA cult believed this phrase meant satanic elites would start dying as the white hats drain the swamp. Coincidentally, some say QAnon is a quantum AI from the future, and some supercomputer scientists like Geordie Rose claim a quantum AI would act like a great old one. Is this why Trump and Elon are supposedly connected to Epstein too? Wasn't Elon working on an AI called Q-Star? Wasn't Epstein heavily invested in AI research? Wasn't he a transhumanist like Elon as well? Unsurprisingly, Brown University is heavily invested in AI research too. I think they are. I think MKUltra as well. In fact, many Lovecraft fans compare Brown to Miskatonic, a fictional educational institution from the author's cosmic horror novels. I guess this explains why Brown students have reported being haunted by Lovecraft's ghost. Also, unsurprising is the fact that the current mayor of Providence, Brett Smiley, looks like Lovecraft, which he actually kind of does, which is weird. I don't really put much stock in that. And the smiley face is a symbol associated with Lovecraft's Shoggoth creatures, which Elon often compares to chatbots and large language models. A little weird way to tie these two things in. And I don't know, go check out Nick Hinton's work. It's a fun follow. I'm not particularly religious, but I'm always blown away by some of these. But what are we talking about here? Well, there was a shooting at Brown University over the weekend, and we kind of took a little bit of a weird analysis of these things going on. Is there a Q storm coming? Are the great old ones coming for us? Perhaps, and I think the great old ones wear little hats. But 2 students killed and 9 injured in Brown University shooting. So hundreds of police officers swarmed the streets near Brown University late Saturday, shining flashlights into parked cars in search of a gunman who opened fire in a campus building, killing 2 students and injuring 9 more. Officials indicated that they had not identified the attacker who escaped onto the streets of Rhode Island's capital. They plan to release a video shortly that shows the gunman leaving the scene of the attack, though his face is not visible. If anybody should recognize this person anyway, seen him earlier, recognize his gait, obviously we want to know about that, said Deputy Timothy O'Hara of the Providence Police. Much of Providence remained on edge hours after the attack, which began during a final exam review session for a large economics class. With residents staying behind locked doors as a search stretched into the night, many students hid in the dorms while others took shelter in the basement of a popular tea shop. Mayor Brett Smiley of Providence said at a news conference late Saturday that officials had identified a 9th victim who was injured by fragments in addition to the 8 who were shot and taken to the hospital in critical condition. University layers said that all the victims were students. This happened during a final exam for a principal's economics class, according to the class professor. Classroom was the first of the Barras and Hawley Engineering and Physics building. Authorities say the gunman exited the building on the Hope Street side. All right, let's move on. Then shortly after, we still don't know who actually did it, but almost shortly after, it was this guy right here, which I'm not even going to say his name, but you can look at his photo. He does kind of look like a stock photo that you would get, whenever you buy a frame or something. Kind of a generic-looking dude, but apparently this guy's name got released, and then come to find out that, no, just kidding, they released him later. Repeat of the Kirk stuff all over again. So they got one, released him, and we still don't really know exactly why. Although here's Ken saying all the big crypto accounts are criticizing local police for this, but apparently it was the FBI who detained the wrong guy. So let's listen on this. We'll see what they're saying about this situation.
That it was a tip from Providence Police that led you all to Hampton Inn. Can you confirm if that's true, and what exactly was the evidence that led you to this person of interest?
Yeah, so it was there was a tip that came in, just like we would take in any other tips, and that one came in specifically identified a person of interest, which was this individual. And so our detectives got on it, just like they got on others, but in this specific one, it was actually picked up by the FBI, and they followed through with it, and they ended up coming and locating this individual of interest, and at that point, we did a thorough investigation, examined, ended up drafting some search warrants, came up with some evidence, but that evidence was examined, and we didn't have enough, obviously, to be able to prosecute anybody, and so the person was released. Go ahead, Thomas.
So you got them saying that this was a tip that was given to them by the FBI, so it seems the FBI set this one up, and it ended up being the local police that released the person, saying, hey, we got the wrong guy. So I don't know, maybe we'll find out later they got the right guy, but I a little bit doubt it. Apparently Laura Loomer has been running with the fact that she seems to think that for some reason, I'm guessing we're just supposed to take Laura Loomer's sources, that the person said Allahu Akbar before doing this. Now, I will go ahead and say, given the other couple stories we've covered, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he said Allahu Akbar and shook an ISIS flag all around. But either way, it still seems to be kind of a wild thing without any proof of that. But let's watch this. This is what she's pointing to. I guess she's saying the media is just referring to it as he yelled something, but they won't say what.
Called into police. The reality is that this is a 7-story physics and engineering building that was unlocked, but this individual went to a specific classroom that was essentially in a study session for an exam on economics, and chose that classroom. And we know from a witness inside that this gunman yelled something. We don't know what this individual yelled, and then began shooting. We also know that this person reportedly used a handgun. So a lot of questions also as to whether or not they recovered that handgun or what kind of ballistics evidence may have led them perhaps to this individual as well. So we have more questions than answers, other than the fact that we know the lockdown has been lifted, and at least according to the mayor, this community can breathe a sigh of relief. But hopefully we hope to find out more in the coming hours.
All right, well, here's what Laura had to say about this. She said, breaking, Brown University mass shooter yelled Allahu Akbar before opening fire on campus, according to sources. Sources say. How come the media is suppressing eyewitness testimony about how the shooter at Brown University allegedly shouted Allahu Akbar before he opened fire on campus the night before the first night of Hanukkah? The media is only saying he shouted something before he opened fire. Source tell me he yelled Allahu Akbar, but it's being kept quiet by police and Democrats who run Rhode Island. Tell American people the truth. Tell them it was shouted. I mean, although I don't know why this person wouldn't just come out and say it. I mean, it doesn't sound that crazy. You could just say it. But now, here's Laura again, kind of going even further in this. I guess they've released further, the police have released other videos of people they suspect is him. And then here's Laura's take. She says, along with the fact that the Brown University shooter allegedly shouted Allahu Akbar before he started shooting, another dead giveaway of the shooter's likely Muslim is the way the shooter was seen standing on newly released CCTV footage. In Islamic culture, it's common for men to stand with their hands behind their backs. That's very Middle Eastern behavior. You'll see what she means here. And she's kind of correct. This is a little bit Middle Eastern behavior. I'd like to hear you guys' opinions. Let me know what you guys think. Does this strike me? Now, this guy's got a little bit of a tummy, it seems, but watch. He does kind of do this standing thing. This is supposedly what some of the videos the cops showed. So now he's doing this hands behind the back thing. It's also a military thing, too, actually. A lot of military guys do that, and really, honestly, just the biggest faggots out of the group, typically the ones who have drank Kool-Aid the most, because it's supposed to be like, that's your at ease, that's your parade rest, that's like anything where you're not like at attention, and like they kind of almost, you're not, I mean, sometimes there are like, even when you're at ease, you don't necessarily have to put your hands behind your back, but it's almost like encouraged. That's like the default, like as a military member, like I guess like if you're in some sort of formation, or even if you're at ease, like in formation, you're generally at some sort of level of parade rest, essentially. Like you usually have your hands behind your back. It's usually kind of the resting position. So now I get what they mean too, but this is also like a Arabic or Arabic type of thing. But I don't know. I don't know how much we can take from it. It seems like a jump to go, well, herder, he must be Muslim. So I don't know. It'd make more sense just to, I don't know, say who the source is. Because, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't release that information. Doesn't make sense otherwise. But leaning into that it's a Muslim, a little weird. Loomer coming out the jump like this, as much as she glows. And then another example of a multiple showing up at multiple ones of these events. This is Zoe Weissman. She's a survivor of the Brown shooting, and she also lived through the Parkland shootings. Let's hear what she had to say.
Now I'm just angry that there's kids like me in this country who have had to go through this not once, but twice.
No question. You remember that after Parkland, as has happened after some school shootings, there's a moment of expectation that there might be change, there might be actual action, and too often it fades, right? It just disappears. I mean, we've had that after Sandy Hook, after Parkland, we had it after Uvalde. Occasionally some incremental progress, but nothing seemingly consequential. That has to be frustrating as a victim of this.
I can't even put into words how frustrating it is. And I think that the common denominator around all of that is inaction on the part of Congress. I think that we've seen time and time again, Congress has failed to show that they actually care about their constituents. And if they did, they would immediately pass comprehensive gun violence prevention bills. Tell
me how you're doing right now, because I've been speaking to students on campus, and as we understand it, and as the mayor has described it, there's still a shelter in place. Are you still in a shelter in place, under a shelter in place order?
Yeah, so I'm safe in my dorm, but we can't leave our dorms. We can't leave our buildings. So physically I'm safe, and I've had lots of friends and family reaching out.
How is your family dealing with this? Because of course they went through this with you once before. They must be concerned about you tonight.
Yeah, the first person I called was my mom, which was the same thing that happened with Parkland. And just seeing her go through those emotions all over again makes me feel so bad for her. And I think it feels like I'm 12 again. And I think it feels like it's 2018 again for my family as well. We're going through the exact same emotions.
Not weird at all. Not weird at all. And I also don't think she's the only one either. I think if I recall correctly, I've heard of other, like at least one or two other people that was the same situation in this. So we've already got multiple people who've done multiple school shootings, which now obviously this is becoming obviously we've gotten to such a crazy pandemic level of shootings that we have kids that have been in multiple ones, where another explanation is maybe something fishy is going on here. But we can never ask that question. But, remember, the whole world's a stage. And I think this ties into another node in the domestic Gladio theme. Listen to this. And I don't know. I mean, take it as far as you can. Who is this guy? This is John Chris, a comedian. So take this as far as you want to. But I thought this was particularly interesting. Give me a second. Of course, the audio went out.
Candace Owens is here.
All right, one more time. Let's do it.
Tucker Carlson's there. Marjorie Taylor Greene is there.
Wow.
Candace Owens is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, Lydia, Candace Owens is here. She's like, what? Well, I go, Candace is here. She goes, tell her I'm reading her book. I go, not Candace Bure. Candace Owens is here.
Yeah.
She was like, what?
The other one.
The real one.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then and there's like a bunch of Turning Point people there. There's a bunch of like, I wrote down a list of everybody that I saw there. A bunch of comics were there. Brennan Shaw, Theo, bunch of people, a bunch of MMA fighters in there. And I was like, I go, all right, this is what I always have thought about those kind of things. And I'll just say it out loud for everybody listening. And I've said this before in some kind of context. There was Turning Point people there. And Candace Owens was there. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson. I hate to say this out loud. Everybody friends. Everybody friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, I've heard before about Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we saw like the Democratic majority leader and like the Republican, they're at dinner. I go, yeah, everybody friends.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody like kind of in like, we would see, like, let's say like Theo's good buddy of ours, he would be like doing something. We were like, oh yeah, it's kind of just for the thing,
mm-hmm.
for their job. They
mm-hmm.
just kind of have to they kind of got to be on the sidelines and dump Gator right on the coat. That's like kind of,
they're entertaining.
That's what their thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I go, wait, I thought you, because the thing he said about shouldn't you guys be fighting?
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't you guys be fist fighting in the center of this party?
Yeah.
Everybody, hey, you want a drink?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, in other news here, we have apparently Erica and Candace Owens had a meeting. I think as I was on, I think it was yesterday, they said, I don't know who it was. I think Erica put out the first tweet or something. Erica Kirk and Candace Owens have a meeting. Well, Candace has kind of reported in. She said, Erica and I had an extremely productive 4.5-hour meeting that I think we both feel should have taken place a lot earlier than it did. We agreed much more than I had anticipated. Of course, we also disagreed on various points and people as well. Most importantly, we were able to share intel and clarify intent. I will, of course, have a full rundown for you all tomorrow, as I am absolutely exhausted, but I want to quickly let you guys know that absolutely nothing was held back, and the immediate result was that tensions were thawed. Well, moving on, she ended up putting out a video on this last night, because I guess she just couldn't hold it in. So let's see what she has to say here.
4.5 hours later, I'm alive. I'm totally fine, and I'm sorry. I was going to do a show for you guys this evening, but I am truly exhausted. Very productive conversation. I asked every single question. I mean, from Egyptian planes to Turning Point USA Faith, and I was very surprised by some of the answers that I got, and I think they were also very surprised when I shared certain intel. This probably should have happened a very long time ago, but I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive, and I will have the full rundown for you guys tomorrow. of what transpired. And yeah, I think it was definitely a very big step in the right direction. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, so we'll see, I guess, tomorrow, or I guess it'll be tonight, I think, actually, or today at some point. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going to watch it, but I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll pop in to see what the hell happened there. I'll be honest, I kind of checked out of the Candace train a little bit ago because just losing it. Too much nonsense being thrown at the wall. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Fed narrative is bullshit as well. But in other news, so let's check in on Erica. Let's see what she's been jabbing about lately.
Is there anything specific that Turning Point can do to combat anti-Semitism?
Yeah, so we're on all of our college campus and high school campuses. We have these conversations, and our students understand exactly my heart and Charlie's heart and the sentiment of everything I just said. We have Shabbat dinner happening at AmFest. We have individuals in our chapters who are Jewish. We have people that are going to be having booths. We have an exhibit hall at AmFest that are Jewish, that have Jewish organizations. The only way to combat evil, just like Charlie did, is with dialogue and not being afraid to do it. If you have these things that are being said, you need to counter it with the truth. And if you don't, there's a void and a vacuum. And so even though they're a small number, they get louder and louder. So we need to do our best, which we're doing our part. We're going to continue to do our part to make sure that the truth is always heard. We'll amplify it even more. And we're going to do the best we can, but we need the whole community. We need everyone in on that.
Bob, thank you so much.
Oh, and then I'm sure this is completely unrelated, but the DOJ may charge alleged Charlie Kirk assassin with anti-Christian hate crime. Justice Department is considering charging alleged Charlie Kirk killer Tyler Robinson with an anti-Christian hate crime, according to NBC News. And I have a feeling these anti-Christian things are gonna, they just might, get conflated, many times with anti-Jewish or it might be like a Zionism type vibe. Wouldn't be a least bit surprised with that. Citing 3 people familiar with the matter, NBC reported Saturday that the justification for charging Robinson with a hate crime largely hinges on his alleged motivation to kill Kirk over his views about transgender people. Robinson's partner is trans, and authorities have produced text messages from the suspect to his partner saying he was motivated to kill Kirk because he had had enough of his hatred. Charging a hate crime would allow the DOJ to take action in a case that was otherwise solely under state jurisdiction. So that's interesting. I didn't know that there perhaps the hate crime qualifier is a way to kind of backdoor in essentially the federal side of thing, because for those who aren't aware or haven't really thought this through, it makes no fucking sense the FBI is really involved in this really hardly at all. This is a state crime. There's no real reason for the feds to get involved, yet they keep insisting on doing so, to the extent to where they were keeping out the Foreign Affairs Committee and stuff, guarding their little ball and not letting them get in on it, despite that they're not even supposed to be on it. Robinson did not cross state lines, and other potential federal statutes like the stalking charge brought against alleged United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione. Those are all things that would keep him from being able to get the federal group involved. And while there's widespread agreement that Robinson's alleged actions include domestic terrorism, there are no federal domestic terrorism laws on the books. NBC sources cast doubt on the hate crime strategy. They're trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. One of the people familiar with the federal investigation told NBC. Robinson has first in-person court hearing Thursday, where lawyers largely argued about media access to the proceedings. Robinson's attorneys also revealed they filed a seal motion to disqualify Utah County prosecutors from the case. Robinson's not yet entered his plea, and the next hearing is set for January. And to finish off today, let's see what the Trump administration has been working on. Let's listen in on Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan, who is Trump's pick for the U.S. anti-Semitism czar. Let's hear what he has to say.
The president is sending a very strong message. Think about it. Ironically, I get off a plane. I am the president's representative, and I am walking off with a yarmulke, and I have kosher food, and embassies will have kosher food. It is a game changer. The appointment is a game changer. And it's not about history. It's about education. And how do we educate? Indonesia has 350 million Muslims living in the country. How do we change their textbooks? How do we hold the people in Gaza accountable that if America is paying for UN textbooks, changes are made, why it's not being used and why are they using their old textbooks? We have to teach people it's not okay to educate your kids to be a martyr. Okay? And we have to hold those countries accountable. How do we battle anti-Semitism on the internet? How are we doing better on algorithms? What companies can we work with? We are going to have a whole division within the office of the Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism that is going to work on technology and working with the greatest leaders in technology, many of whom are Jewish and have offered their assistance. The office is going to be revamped entirely to be one of the highest profile offices in the State Department because that's what the Secretary wants and that's what the President wants. So we are going to have a very, very strong mandate on education, on protecting people, and how are we able to make a huge difference in combating what goes on. The president is...
All right, to rehash that, but he said this guy, Rabbi Yehuda Kaploon, he says the State Department is going to have a whole division dedicated to battling anti-Semitism on the internet, pushing social media to better on algorithms. He says tech leaders, many of whom are Jewish, have already offered their assistance. He says the office is going to be revamped entirely to be one of the highest profile offices in the State Department because that's what the Secretary of State Marco Rubio wants, and that's what the president wants. Isn't that great? All for 2% of the population. That makes sense. Let's go ahead and completely rearrange everything for them. And I'm in danger. Now, if you guys want to help me because I'm in danger and I'm clearly not playing the game correctly for what the storm that is coming, then be sure to go up here and support the show over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you access to early episodes. I do about 1 to 2 of those a week. For example, I just had that West Memphis 3 episode drop on Friday. The second one's already behind the paywall, so go check that out if you like that. The second one, we dig into the crazy things that some of those guys said, just insane, just over and over, where they basically admitted it over and 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 over again, and somehow they got away with it, despite all that. And we'll be coming back with a part 3 sometime soon. I also got multiple other episodes behind the paywall. I try to keep, I do about 1 to 2 of those per week. I keep about 4 behind the paywall at any given time, so you got quite a few you can go check out. And get them weeks before the rest of everybody. You also get access to ad-free RSS feed. You also get access to Telegram. You guys get the pre-show, post-show, and the video calls for me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, which is already dead, which goes out on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That's tonight. And we have on Dana Duda with us tonight, so it'll be very interesting, especially for those interested in the quirkiness. We'll have plenty to cover there, so give us a call. On our call-in show. And the highest levels of my sponsors, I give them a big shout-out as a big thank you for their support. My previous co-host and Tower Gang, at Learn to Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZLVRCK, at _InfiniteZeal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolin Klebold, big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Douglas, 1-800-CAR for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. With that, guys, we're going to get out of here. We have a fun little outro for you guys. I should change this to shit my kid shows me, because this, I actually saw this online before my kid showed this to me, but it's just like, it's funny, the stuff that gets back around, the sort of memes that get around to me. I've seen a bunch of conservatives mad online about this, and then this is the sort of stuff my daughter shows me that is hilarious. So I have 2 of these. The stuff my kid shows me. Here's a fun little Charlie Kirk meme, and then I'll play another one, and then we'll get out of here.
10 years. Counting or not counting gang violence? Counting or not.
All right, I'm going to go through the chat. I forgot to go through you guys' chat, so I'll play the other one after we go through the chat. It'll be the final outro. We have one more outro for you guys that I think you will like, but let's roll through the chat, say our final goodbyes to the chat. Heil Yog Sothoth says Alien Big Cap. A lot of Jays getting killed during Hanukkah, says Jug the Go. Yeah, they do that to their peasant class. It's kind of a frequent occurrence. Kind of crazy, really. Let me see. Oh, I missed one from Black Eye, I think, a bit ago. So shooters came back from Philippines on Indian passports. Neighbors said they're Indian Italians. That's an odd mix. Yeah, I think they said what the mom was Italian or the dad was Indian or vice versa or something like that. Let me see who else. It's a man over 30 by the walk, says Black Eye. Yeah, referring to the brown shooter, a suspected brown shooter. Yeah, they did have a weird walk. It did look like an older guy, definitely over 30, I would think. Let me see. Jews have a right to defend themselves. Yeah, don't forget, Israel's a right to defend itself. Daddy needs the $7,000. Says, don't be a pussy to Jose. Set up a cat trail cam. You want me to set up cat trail cams around my house? That sounds like an invasion of privacy nightmare. Gerald says Brown University has the largest concentration of juice out of every Ivy League school. I believe it. They are running low on crisis actors, says Clockwise. It sure seems that way, doesn't it? Not suspicious at all. The same people seem to survive multiple mass casualty events. Yeah, right? What a weird coincidence. Let me see. Good morning, Retardo. I think it's the first I've seen here. It says no coincidence that they is involved in multiple school shooting psyops. Let me see. All right. I think we're about near the end of the chats. All right, let's get out of here. Jose loves Shabbat dinner, says Gerald. Yup. Gautis says, I thought the French off Candace. That's not a thing anymore. No, we're on to the next storyline, Gautis. You just take that one as granted. Don't worry about it. Yeah. I'm burned out on drama nothing burgers too. Yeah, me too. It's super gay. Let me see. TP is a Scientology op and Erica is the lead. Candy is a controlled op and went a little too hard. Sure seems that way, doesn't it? Let me see. There's no hate speech, just speech, as Wise Elk. All right. Let's get to the bottoms. There we go. Bye everybody. Have a good day. This is Tower Gang NPC. See everybody. Enjoy this outro. We're gonna get out of here. I gotta go. See y'all. Love you. Bye bye.
I know you think you can run. You're scared to believe I'm the one. I just can't let you go.